bird. The new Hunter from Royal Enfield. Looks like, however, the bike I am interested in is this Himalayan. Alright guys, I'm sitting on the 2023 or 2022 Scram, and yeah, the sound is pretty neat. It's not loud either, and it feels almost like a street naked bike. Doesn't have that huge adventure vibe on it. There's a cracked mirror here. The clutch is relatively smooth, but the brakes are little stiff, and there's not much response on the tire. But the engine is so much smoother than I remember, because the last time I did ride a Himalayan was in Ladakh, and compared to that grunty noise, this bike feels so much smooth. And the rear brake is much more responsive than the front one, and the whole setup is so much different. The feel on this bike is because on the Himalayan you kind of sit upright, but your arms are much more higher, if I'm not wrong, and there's a lot of wind protection. But on this bike there's not much wind protection, but the bike feels so much sporty thanks to its bigger tires with a smaller radius. If I'm not wrong, this comes with the 19 and 17 tire setup. So front is 19 inches and the rear is 17. And the build quality feels pretty moderate. I won't say like this is top class. I kind of found the SD bikes much more smoother or softer on the hands, but this is not bad setup if you ask me. And especially I like this speedometer. It looks very neat, and the mirrors are wide enough to allow you to see who's coming behind, and there's a wind protection for your hands. So this is more than just a street bike. It is also long tour capable. But the only downside which Himalayan or the Royal Enfield had in their Himalayan was they don't have the 6th gear, which makes it hard to cruise in higher speed, like past 100. But this bike is plenty responsive. So let's just take a quick peek of the bike. Park it here. So what's different from Himalayan, at least from first impression standpoint, is the seats. The seats are kind of different. The scooping is a little deeper and kind of compressed, I feel. But the build quality is kind of an improvement compared to the previous generation of Royal Enfield bikes, at least on this setup. I even saw the Hunter 350, which looked way more promising, at least from the build quality side, and this is not half bad either. And they have very nice colors this year, and they have a small grab rail, and you can have some saddle stay on this in case if you decide to go off-road and do a long touring. So there's one ugly sari guard over here which you can take it down, and risk getting a ticket from the police. But apart from that, the bike looks pretty neat. So I'll take a test run on the Himalayan now, the BS6 one, which I haven't ridden recently. And in order to stay compliant with the traffic rules, I'm not going to go back in the one way. I just take this block around. I'll take route myself around the block. And yes, there's the main road. Yeah, bike has very nice resonance. The engine is very responsive, but you can't hear that because the mufflers or the exhaust on this bike is pretty silent. So I'll keep the bike here and ask for the Himalayan now. Everything including the side stand is so chunky on this bike, but I do like the retro look on this, but it lacks the LED lights. So let's go get our new key. There you go, this is your Hunter 350, which looks killer if you ask me. And I think they have two different variants in this, or just the color scheme, because they both have different seats, at least the texture of the seats. Huh. The seats on the Himalayan is so much softer, and there is plenty of protection from the wind. I can instantly make out the differences, and the immediate thing that I noticed on the BS6 is this tank guard, or what you call it, a hanger where you can put your additional fuel. This is so much forward set now, because the previous one, it used to be so close to your knees. Probably they wanted to make it much friendlier for taller riders who are above 6 feet, so they don't hit their knees into the bracket. But it kind of feels nice riding Himalayan rather than riding the Scram, because this has this 21-inch tire on the front, so I can immediately feel the difference in how much lighter it feels. I'm not saying like the Scram was difficult to turn around or something. It felt so much sportier. However, this bike, it feels like a proper adventurer. And I think they have done some design change to the wind visor. It looks kind of sleeker and more curvier, so that's one more thing to notice on this BS6 model. The gear shifts are much softer, but the brakes are still little tighter on this bike. But one thing which I feel a little bad about is how the instrument cluster is arranged. They could have come up with a new units, but now they have retrofitted additional device here to give you that Bluetooth connectivity and turn by turn navigation on the bike. The suspensions are much plush and road friendly now, because the potholes I just passed a minute ago, I did not even feel it. And the brakes feel a little more responsive on this compared to the Scram. Probably it could be the bad maintenance on the test bike or test drive bikes. But few complaints which I would definitely want to highlight is the build quality of Royal Enfield bikes. I mean, overall it's a very good package. There's no complaint, and you would get 100% ROI or return of your investment on these bikes. But some parts feel very cheap, like this grip. They are not supposed to rotate like this. Maybe they have recently installed this and still it's wet inside. Maybe the grease is not gone yet or something. But yeah, these kind of things kind of put you off. I don't think they have a stock handguard on this, but I'm a little surprised. I thought the 19-inch tire setup on the Scram would make it more flickable, but I find Himalayan more easy to ride. Like, I can easily tilt the bike compared to the Scram. Yeah, that's something weird, and I didn't expect that to happen. I thought that Scram would be more sportier and easy to flick kind of bike, but the steering felt much harder on the Scram compared to the Himalayan. And the seats are very soft on the Himalayan compared to the Scram, where it was complete opposite for in case of SD Adventure and Scrambler. Yep, nice grunt even on the higher gears. The bike can pull you up very nicely, so the torque on these bikes are much nicer compared to the SDs. SDs, they feel very powerful, but the torque figures are like okay, like you cannot pull your bike at any gear at any RPM. But the Himalayan, it's more than capable to pick that speed even in the higher RPMs or in the higher gears in the lower RPM. So the torques are good. Apart from those, what else do I find interesting in the Himalayan and Scram? Okay, let me put this inside and right. So the stock items available on this bike is this rear rack. I think this is an additional accessory, but the fit and finish on the Royal Enfield is much more better than the SD. And again, you have your ugly sari guard, which you can take off. I kind of feel like the ground clearance on the bike has gone down, or I am seeing the bike for after a very long time. But the bikes are very nice to ride. And there you go. That's our review on the Royal Enfield Himalayan and the Scram 411. I mean, just to watch the bike, I think the 411 looks much nice, kind of a sporty scrambler look. But I find Himalayan more tempting and more appropriate for touring and do your adventure rides. But I do like how they have set up this front headlamp. So we'll discuss more on this bike later point in time. Thanks for watching. If you do like this video, do click on that like button and click on subscribe. Until next time, ciao. Veg. it has taken. Left ilva? Okay. ಅಥವಾ ಆಕ್ಸೆಸರಿನಾ? ಆಕ್ಸೆಸರಿ ಅಲ್ವಾ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ.